Hello, I'm your superhero critic, and I have never seen a James Bond movie. I know, crime against movie, whatever you want to say. At least that's according to my partners. That being said, since I really don't consider James Bond part of what I review, there is comic book versions of them, so let's take a look at one. For Your Eyes Only is a 1981 spy film and is the 12th film on the still-running James Bond series. The movie was one of the most successful in the series and was the directorial debut of John Glenn, and as part of the merchandising, Marvel published an adaptation of the film under their Marvel Comics Super Special line. That was also a re-release as a two-part miniseries. This is the comic book adaptation of the James Bond film For Your Eyes Only. We begin with Bond getting into a helicopter being forced to leave his wife as he was visiting her grave. But I'm sure your office wouldn't have sent a helicopter to pick you up unless it was some sort of emergency. Thank you, agency, for being a necrophilic cockblock. However, things quickly change as the helicopter is taken over by someone who strongly looks like Blofeld as he shocks the driver, causing our hero to shoot the window in order to take the copter over, flying it toward his nemesis, dropping him down a fire chute. So he's down a chute without a ladder. I would not want to play that. Off the coast of Albania, we see a boat disguised as a fishing vessel learning of a new object closing in on them, but as they go to evasive action, it's too late as they are hit with something and the ship sinks. The only ship that sank better was the Titanic. We jump from London to Moscow, both discussing the ship being sunk before going to a marine research vessel filled with the Havelock family. Melina's parents seem like they are hiding something, but before anyone knows anything, Gonzalez turns the plane around and shoots Melina's parents. Gonzalez! I am Melina. You killed my parents. Prepare to die. Back at London, James runs into Moneypenny, who tells him that M wants to see him, so he goes, and M gives him the information on the boat incidents. Thank you, Mr. M, because now I know what the fuck is going on! The next day, Gonzalez is meeting with the guy who owes him money as Bond is looking on. But Bond gets dropped in on, Gonzalez knowing exactly who he is. I just want a license to chill. But as Gonzalez goes to swim, he is shot with a crossbow bolt. I was a douchebag like you, but then I took a crossbolt to the spine. Hysteria breaks out as everyone scatters Gonzalez's men attacking Bond, who then grabs an umbrella for defense and vaults himself over a wall, running into Melina, and offering his car for the two to escape. You know, since the car that I was driving, just murdered a bunch of people. While our heroes get chased, they become acquainted while Bond gets Melina to force their pursuers off the cliff. And later that night, Bond gives Melina advice on revenge, but she has a few words of her own. My life doesn't matter. Greek women like Electra have always avenged their loved ones. Are you leaving Spain too? If you're referring to Marvel's Electra, she dies by bullseye, right? In Q's lab, Q helps reconstruct the guy with the money suitcase before he heads to a skating rink to meet up with contacts to learn more while admiring his protege's rink work. The men all discuss the information needed, only for BB to come over and ask her uncle if Bond would join her at a biathlon. Ari finally decides to give information he knows, telling us the pictured man works for a man named Colombo, and all of them disperse, Bond letting Ferrara take his car. Just don't play around with those knobs. Well, I know that one makes chili cheese fries, but the rest of them don't touch because I have no idea what they do. Bond then notices Melina heading towards him as well as a man on a motorcycle driving towards her, so our hero jumps to save her. I say, chaps, don't you know that cycling on ice is dangerous? You could skid into a barrier, or even worse, get your spikes caught in something. Or your face into a wall. Signor your flowers. Send them to the funeral. So once again, Bond admits to murder. The two talk and Melina talks about his telegram that he claims he didn't send, and she agrees to let him figure things out. Then later at Bond's hotel, BB is nude and waiting for him, to which he quickly denies and tells her to get dressed. How the fuck are you gonna get denied by Bond, the most misogynistic character ever? You ugly. Later on the slopes, Bond is targeted by the sniper Kriegler. As he does, Bond ditches BB and the shooting begins. But Bond gives him the slip, so he snags a motorbike and the ski chase is on as Kriegler chases Bond through slopes and crashes through a cabin to get away. Bond then tells Ferrara he's sorry he's late, then questions BB on who Kriegler is, thinking he's just jealous of him. He's not that into you! Bond is then quickly met with a hockey puck being shot past his face and begins a random fight with hockey players right before he's hit from behind. Bond then tries to get an edge up and finds one in the way of a Zamboni, hurting the men for him.
You're about to be killed by a Zamboni in 5 minutes!
Outside, James finds Ferrara dead with a dove pinned to him. Bond immediately knows what happened, and a few days later, him and Melina meet and bounce leads around, and in the process, she sneaks a kiss. I don't know what came over me. We'd better go. I'm sorry that my lips invaded your personal space, that I would run to authorities if you did the same. That night, Bond goes to a casino and sees Columbo having dinner with a woman who throws water in his face, and Bond uses her to be Bond by sleeping with her to learn more information, but a car ends up killing her. I would like to know, at least in this specific beach scene, why does James Bond look like Prince Eric from Little Mermaid? We then jump to Bond and Columbo discussing what's going to happen, and they agree to work together, so they show up at the docks that night, putting a stop to his plans. Our heroes follow Locke into a warehouse with massive newsprint rolls shoving them into Locke's men. New Kellogg's Rice Krispies Newsprint Edition. Locke has the warehouse set to explode, and as he sets it off, Bond still survives it, but stops Locke's car, forcing him to tilt it on its side, which Bond just tips the car over the side. License to kill or not, he's still an asshole. Bond goes to Melina and they bounce stories again, with Melina telling him about her father's last dive before his murder, and the two go in to investigate by diving themselves, finding what they are looking for right before Melina's air tank is snapped, and Bond acts quickly and blows up their attacker. You know, I would personally care about any of these bad guys if they weren't murdered every 5 seconds! Our heroes get to the surface, only to be met with Uncle Airy, who demands the ATAC while Blondie Nipple Boy wants it for himself. Bond and Melina then get thrown overboard, but eventually cut the rope that they were tied up with before diving to grab the spare tank that Melina had dropped down there. Once Christos' ship is gone, the two dry off and overhear the parrot repeating where our villain went. Does Polly want a cracker? A really big cracker? Thank you for helping out. Bond goes to Columbo climbing a mountain while BB dumps Airy because their goals don't match each other, but then James is attacked on his climb up, but Mr. Murder is quickly to knock the dude off the side. You know, as many people die in this comic, I really should have started a death counter. I don't even know what it's at by now. Meanwhile, Melina and company travel via basket, killing the guy shooting at them, as one of them opens the door of them, alerting them that Christosta is waiting on a helicopter. Bond then drops in on the villains. No, Englishman, the game ends here. What is it with all my reviews this year? Making everybody lose the game. You're welcome. Chris makes his escape while Bond faces off with Kriegler, who attempts to kill Bond with a boulder but fails worse than the villain from Ninja Turtles 3. They question where Chris went, finding out he went towards the helicopter, making Columbo tackle him, beginning a tussle. Bond tries to convince Melina not to kill him, but as she goes to kill him, he is hit with a throwing knife, killed anyway. Oh, knives! My only weakness! Hi, cat. Our heroes revel in their victory while Bond destroys the Ajax device. The KGB are mad Bond won, and BB finds a new guy. The comic then ends with Bond and Melina tricking Q into some sexy time with a parrot while they swim. So that's the comic book adaptation of For Your Eyes Only. Since I didn't have time to actually watch the movie to compare and contrast, mainly due to my personal schedule, as a standalone comic, it's not terrible, but I also don't know much to go off of based off the movie and whether or not it's a good representation of the movie. So as a comic itself, it's not that bad. That being said, next week is once again Friday the 13th. So enjoy some more Jason murdering fun next Friday.